Hello, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. This is something I have seen for quite a while, and I'm finally at a point where I can reveal the vision and lay it down. When I was 12 years old, I had a friend named Kate, and we played a game called How to Invent Your New Society. This game went on to inspire a massive passion inside of me for sociology. It was a game where we composed an entire plan on how to invent and recreate and build our own society. It put us both in the role of a god, and we started to construct all the elements that were required for building a society that was working. It is something that I never walked away from. I left that stage of my life with constantly playing over the circumstances and situations in my mind. And when I started to get into psychology, philosophy, the progression of history and human society through the ages, war, economics, governments, I saw how literally like a massive ballet, all of these elements just moved along with each other. In addition, I combined it with my mathematical knowledge of projection, problem solving, and logic. And when I tied all these elements together, what I saw was this beautiful movement of just shifting in motion that most people are oblivious to. What I started to realize as I dissected what exactly a network or a society is composed of, I realized that there were two core elements. A society is composed of a core center and a network, and that's it. A core center and a network. When you understand how a network is built around the core center, you can literally take that core center and move it around to whatever you want and establish it. And once you understand how that core center interacts with the network, oh, that's where you get into feudalism, democracy, communism, anything you want to pull apart on any political front. Hitler had himself as the core center, his philosophy, which nurtured literally the entire Nazi regime. Not pleasant. Christ was the core center with his 12 ethics and his 12 disciples that then fueled and nurtured his network. The Roman Empire had the emperors with their philosophy and their network. Christ with his conflicted very strongly with the Roman agenda, and they went to war, which is another way of saying Rome killed Christ. You see this over and over again. You see it with monarchs, you see it with feuds, you see it with the British Empire, you see it with a religion, you see it with a terrorist group, you see it with a PTA meeting. This is human psychology on a level. It's when you start to realize that every time a single person starts to accumulate and attract attention, they start to form a network. When the idea is strong enough, when their philosophy is solid enough, and when they start to infuse those ideas into action within that network, it becomes a system. This is power economics. When you start to ignite action and motion, you start to push and direct and move. Now, right now, we have the United States government, and at that core center is literally the Constitution. The Constitution is the philosophy that supports the government. And then you've got all the people within that network moving completely with it. Now, there are people within the network who are opposing the government. You have other people within the network who are enforcing the government. You have other people in that network who are nurturing that network, who are working for it. It's all within the system. When we saw the civil rights movements back in the 1960s, it was the people within the network actually confronting the system. When we saw 1776, when we saw the British government with its philosophy with Parliament and King George, we had a leg, let's call us a leg, that would become the United States government, pushing against that to the point where it divorced itself, came over here and created its own system. At the end of the day, a government is just a network. It's just a network. So when you are the leader of a network, what you really are doing is starting your own government. That's really what you're doing. And you can have a government within a government within a government. That's what a religion is. A religion is a government within a government. You have then also the world government, and then inside of that, you have a different government. Now, these systems move and flux and grow and expand. They ebb and flow literally around that core philosophy or that core center. Now, when you take the 12 ethics into account, you realize that every single human being is literally passing through one of the stages of the 12 ethics. And we start to segregate ourselves. We literally are segregating ourselves so that all of the first ethics are over here. All of the people who are in the second ethic are over here. All the people who are in the third ethic are over here. All the people who are in the fifth ethic are over here. And we start to categorize ourselves, and we start to create our own system within a system within a system that revolves around our ethics. When you start to do this strategically and with deliberation, with full conscious awareness, now you have a working government. It is extraordinary. When you take into account all of the different elements that goes into this, now you have a moving government that literally can drive itself, propel itself, fuel itself, and nurture itself. It is a very powerful tool. Most networks that we have today are tier 1. Just tier 1. Pando is a tier 4. Big difference. Big, big difference. The working government is a tier 4. Depending upon which branch you're looking at. Sometimes it's a tier 5. I have the tiers all laid out. They're available on my website, and I break those down further. When you get down into the tiers and what each tier has to accomplish at each level, what the conscious awareness is of the center, that's when you start to have that working government. Now you start looking at the size of it, which is a whole nother different level. When you start putting together elements and resources within your network, now you're starting to think about things like, what do my people need? Well, they would need educational system. They would need medical care or mental health care. They would also need resources. As soon as you have these things implemented, you are now up a level. Now you're up into now you're into an entirely different system. Most networks just have communication, and they don't even do that effectively using power economics. Other networks have an educational system involved. Others charge a fee, which is like a country charging its citizens for attendance. Once you start getting into this new concept of networking, what ends up happening is they break away and you end up with segments. Now, what I see is this. What you really ideally want is an individual involved in at least 3 different networks, 3 to 5. And every network is going to provide you with different resources to help you fuel and to help you understand, to learn. Ideally, you'd want to go to a network where education is provided for you, where mental health is provided for you. So right now, the working government that we have is a network system that's providing you ABC. So you can go to a different network and get a different quality of material, such as an education, such as information. And now you're starting to see that build up with literally with networks coming into formation. Eventually, it's not going to be competition. It should not be competition. And the people should be free, absolutely should be free, to move and switch around their network however they want. Once they start to break apart and move into whichever network they want, which we see a lot of that already happening, where people are moving into this network, they're moving into that network. That I myself belong to 4 different networks. When you belong to the different networks, it opens up the door for you. The more networks you're involved in, the more doors open. But you're limited on resources such as your time and your ability to take on projects before you run out of the fuel so that you can overstretch yourself. So doing this strategically, getting the biggest bang out of your buck with your network is really, really vital to your life success. When you choose a network that provides you with a lifestyle, and this is what you get out of your network, a network nurtures your lifestyle, your ethics, your priorities, and your mindset. So if you are in a toxic network, you're going to be fueling this toxic mindset. When you switch over into a different mindset or a different network, you're going to get a different kind of people. So it's really highly important that you select a network that's going to nurture the attributes and the characteristics of yourself that you desire. Now, what's going to happen, I very, very clearly see this, is the networks are going to continue to grow. The networks are going to start fueling resources for its people. There's reasons why you're going to want to choose certain networks over others. The more people that accumulate, the more powerful a network can become. Now, you're going to have two kinds of networks. You're going to have the network that forces it, that's going to use its people to squeeze out its people, to utilize its people so that it can gain more power through money and finance. You're also going to have other people who do this ethically via literally love, through nurturing resources, through kindness. And as a result, you're going to have people, when they have the freedom to come and go, it's now going to put the network leader in a position where they're going to have to be real nice and kind and nourishing to their people to ensure their people flourish the best. So the more the government center, the leader center nourishes its people, the network nourishes the people, the better the people will be. It's literally a very symbiotic relationship, as opposed to a parasitic relationship. So a network can either be a parasite or a symbiosis. When you start to become consciously aware of these elements, it starts to ask the question, you start to become consciously aware of it, and now you step back and you ask the question, is my network a parasite or is it a symbiosis? If you don't know the difference, a parasite drains and destroys the host while taking its resources. A symbiosis is a win-win situation where you start to become part of a connection where each one of you nourishes each other, growing each other, so you both together get bigger and bigger and more powerful. Beautiful, beautiful marriage when you get a symbiosis going. In order to ensure that you have a healthy symbiosis, you need to take into account, what is the mindset? What are the requirements? Are you spending more than you are gaining? In a parasitic network, you're going to be putting out, and you're going to be draining and draining and shrinking until you're literally shriveled up and dead. And then the parasite casts away the host and goes looks for their next host. That's a parasitic relationship. Narcissism fuels parasitic networks and parasitic relationships. The opposite of narcissism literally is ethical. When you have the 12 ethics, it's not possible, literally not possible, to have possession or narcissism. The 12 ethics destroy it. So that when you have a network that embodies the 12 ethics and ethical mindset, it literally annihilates all of the attributes that are narcissism, ensuring you have a beautiful, healthy, symbiotic relationship so that it's a win-win-win for everybody involved, where everybody nourishes everybody else. In order to do that, the people in charge of that network must serve the people and nourish the people at the very bottom, because the bottom, the foundation, is where all of that strength is. This is the power of networking. In order to do that, the people need free mental health, they need free wealth, they need free resources, they need free education so that they can grow, get bigger, get stronger. They will become empowered and encouraged, and then they will nourish and give value and strength to your network. What I see is a lot of people copying this model in the future in a couple years, where all these networks become the new government, the new strength, not to take out the old government, but to work in a literally relationship alongside them, so that people have alternatives, so that as people change their mindset, they can move on to a different mindset and they can flourish and grow there. It's absolutely working in a partnership. And one of the things that we are working toward is building a network convention, literally the network societal system convention, where we all come together and we can learn about each other's networks so we can better choose which network is going to be for us. This is the true power of networking when it's done properly. When you fuse this up into something called power economics, you have the ability now to literally drive and steer, navigate your network in whatever direction you want it to go consciously, which is something not even our own government has at this time. It is highly advanced power economics and psychological human behavior. It's really extraordinary stuff. This is the kind of stuff we cover over at Pando. It is the way of the future. We have, over the last 2,000 years, exercised every kind of possible government you can possibly think of, from feudalism to capitalism to communism, you name it, we've done it, we've tried it. Hierarchy, monarchy, patriarchy, matriarchy, we've done it all. And none of it has worked. This is something new. This is something that I love to refer to as the network societal system. And this is one of the things that we are going to be diving real deep into to show you the power, the true power behind what a network really does and why, when a network falls apart, it completely destroys the people. This is what happens when networks are not nurtured properly, when networks go to war together, when networks completely crumble and fall, why other networks are built up and they flourish. What is going on in a flourishing network versus a shriveling network? Why some networks build up and why some of them don't, and what exactly is going on between all of them. A network is literally equivalent to a kingdom or a realm, which is why I am Queen Anna, is because it is a kingdom, it is a realm. And when you get that mindset, when you start to wrap your head around that kind of a mindset of a network is a kingdom or it's a realm, and it's literally unique 100% to your mindset, literally, it cultivates and nourishes a mindset. It completely changes the game. It changes everything we ever thought we knew about networks. With the 12 ethics and the 12 perspectives that come with each ethic, we already are very much seeing, and this is one of my most favorite things when it comes to the way society works, is there are 12 personality types. And every system in the entire world, if you're looking at village, city, country, region, literally neighborhood, breaks it down to one of the 12 ethics. We segregate ourselves according to the ethics. And when you start to realize that these 12 ethics are literally the embodiment of our personality types and how each one of us thinks and moves, gets along, and mimics a lifestyle. When you understand how a person moves and transitions from one ethic to the next, how during one stage of our life we might be a fourth ethic, and then how we'll go on later to become a sixth ethic. We're going to need a new network. We're going to need a new environment. You're going to see people move from one network to the next. What I really see are 3 different networks where somebody is an artist network, they're in a scientist network, they're in a communication network, and they're in a first perspective network, a second perspective network, a third perspective network. So when they graduate from first and second perspective into third, they're going to shift into the fourth and the fifth ethic. That way they've got role models. And when they shift into the fourth perspective, they will role model after the fifth ethic, and then they will teach the third ethic. When they shift from the sixth ethic into the seventh ethic becomes the teacher of the sixth, the role model of the sixth, and they also look to the eighth for the role model there, for the example there. And this is truly where I see our society going, is us shifting selectively through the networks, us going to the network conventions and selecting new networks for our own growth so that we can change our mindset and evolve with the change so that we can become more embracive we can embrace more change and the proper environment we need to enhance and grow in the right mindset. It's absolutely an evolutionary, integrated way of living and thinking. And the concept of the network societal systems absolutely is vital to this success. And it's absolutely the direction that our human behavior is going toward, which is absolutely beautiful. When you look at how we evolve, this is truly what's in our future. This is where we are heading. A lot of people don't know it yet. And one of the things that you get at the Pando Network is education on this system, on this process, on this mindset. You're going to see how we've led up to this point, everything that's leading up to it. You're going to see how the transition from the old systems are being transferred over into the network societal systems. And you're going to see all the different pathways that are going to start opening up in a few years and how people are going to be consciously choosing and gravitating toward these different networks. We're going to cover all of the characteristics and elements of all the different types of networks and what you need to know about your own network so that when you choose your network, you are making conscious, self-aware choices to best nourish yourself, to get your happiness, your dream, your goal in life. Suddenly it opens up the doorway so that you still have your home, you still have your family, you still have your life base, but it's your network that's going to fuel you and propel you forward with strategic deliberation. Thank you so, so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.